Nobody's talking about it, but the Las Vegas Raiders might be hiding something behind all this hype. On the surface, it looks like the team just had its best day of training camp yet. The offense was clicking, Pete Carroll was feeding off the crowd, and Gino Smith looked like he'd been running the system for years. But something felt off. One decision at practice caught insiders completely off guard, and the coaching staff isn't saying a word. It wasn't a flashy play or a dramatic injury, it was a quiet lineup change that could mean something much bigger. If you weren't paying close attention, you probably missed it. But if it's what it looks like, the ripple effect could hit the entire offense. The performance itself? Pure electricity. Multiple insiders said the Raiders' offense dominated the first 3 quarters of the session. Gino Smith delivered lasers downfield to Trey Tucker, who kept breaking open deep. Jakobi Meyers was a safety valve all day. Dante Thornton made it clear he's more than just speed. And Brock Bowers, well, he looked unstoppable. Even backup QB Aiden O'Connell found rhythm, hitting Jack Bech and Alex Bachman for scores. Chip Kelly's system was in full motion, and for the first time in a long time, this Raiders offense looked unpredictable. But as the highlights rolled in, fans started to notice who wasn't running with the starters. Jackson Powers Johnson. That's the name on everyone's mind. The second-round pick was once seen as the Raiders' future anchor on the line. But now, 2 practices in a row, he's been buried with the backups, while Jordan Meredith takes center snaps with the ones. No explanation, no statement, just silence. If this is about motivation, fine, but if it's something else, it could be the first major misstep of this new regime. And it gets even more complicated when you hear what's happening in the trenches. Because the next move the Raiders made wasn't subtle, it was violent. And it could signal a whole new identity forming behind the scenes. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Raiders and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 500 likes on this video. Gino Smith just flipped the entire narrative around this offense. After months of questions and cautious optimism, he walked into day 4 of Raiders camp and delivered the kind of performance that shuts everyone up. Deep throws, perfect timing, pocket control, it was all there. But this wasn't just a bounce-back practice. This was a warning shot to the rest of the league. With Chip Kelly dialing up fast, vertical concepts and Greg Olsen working closely as his quarterback coach, Gino didn't just manage the system, he owned it. It felt like the offense unlocked a new level, and it all started with the deep ball. The defense couldn't stop it. Trey Tucker, who's clearly stepped into his role as a vertical threat, burned past coverage on multiple deep shots, each one dropped in by Gino with surgical placement. On another rep, he threaded one down the seam to Brock Bowers, and later hit Jakobi Meyers on a tight sideline route that left no room for error. Even Dante Thornton, the 6'5" receiver who's already turning heads, got involved. Gino read the field, shifted protections, and found his guys. And it wasn't just raw arm talent. It was chemistry. This looked like a quarterback who knows he's the guy and is playing like it. But here's where it gets more interesting. The coaches didn't just hand Gino the keys, he earned it. And while fans are focused on the throws, the real test is what happens next. Because once the pads come on, this offense isn't going to fly under the radar anymore. The expectations just changed. And the moment you raise the bar, you raise the pressure. The entire league knows what Gino can do when he's confident. The question now is, can he keep this momentum when the hits get real? That answer might depend on who's protecting him up front. And that part of the story is getting messier by the day. It's easy to overlook Aiden O'Connell when Gino Smith is lighting up training camp, but that would be a mistake. Because while the spotlight stays on QB1, O'Connell is quietly putting together one of the sharpest camps of any backup in the league. On day 4, he threw a strike down the middle to rookie wideout Jack Bech for a touchdown, then followed it up with a perfect deep ball to Alex Bachman. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't loud, but it was efficient. Clean reads, quick decisions, precise ball placement. And in a Chip Kelly offense built on rhythm, that matters more than ever. What makes this even more intriguing is how the staff is using O'Connell. He's not just getting garbage time reps. He's running the full playbook with the second unit and getting opportunities to prove he can command the offense if called on. There's no QB controversy, not yet, but the Raiders are giving Aiden O'Connell every chance to grow into the role long term. And the bond between him and Gino is only helping. These two aren't rivals. They're backing each other, coaching each other, and raising the standard in every drill. That kind of chemistry isn't common, and it's becoming a strength inside the quarterback room. Still, the whispers are growing louder. Some fans are already calling for Aiden O'Connell to challenge for the starting job. And while the coaching staff hasn't hinted at any open battle, every clean throw he makes adds pressure. Not to Gino, but to the narrative that this job is locked down forever. And as we head toward full contact practices, AOC's steady rise could shift the team's long-term plans in subtle but serious ways. But the spotlight won't stay on quarterbacks for long, because behind the scenes, a different kind of battle just erupted. And this one wasn't decided by stats or tape, it was settled with fists. Things got real in Raiders camp, and the message was loud and clear: this roster isn't backing down. The first real scrap of the summer broke out between rookie offensive lineman Caleb Rogers and veteran defensive tackle Adam Butler. It wasn't some harmless scuffle. It was aggressive, emotional, and exactly what coaches love to see from young talent trying to earn respect. Rogers has been climbing quietly through reps, but this moment, it made everyone pay attention. It wasn't about disrespect, it was about sending a message. He's here to compete, and he's not afraid of vets standing in his way. Butler, to his credit, responded like a leader. He didn't escalate, it ended quickly, but his physical dominance throughout practice set the tone. He blew up a screenplay earlier in the session and followed it with a powerful bull rush that forced the offense to adjust. These are the kinds of veteran responses that sharpen a team. It wasn't just Butler either. Jeremy Chin was flying around from multiple alignments, crashing down from the edge, dropping into coverage, and even rotating into the box. The intensity jumped across the board, especially when younger defenders like Amari Gaynor and Cody Lindenberg started ramping up their physicality as well. What's developing here isn't just competition, it's culture. Pete Carroll doesn't care about star power without toughness, and when young players start showing that edge, it changes how reps are handed out. This wasn't just one fight between two guys, it was a spark. And now that the first gloves have come off, don't be surprised if the next padded practice turns into a full-blown audition for starting roles. The defense isn't just reacting anymore, they're starting to punch back. Something about Christian Wilkins' sudden absence feels bigger than football. Just days ago, he was penciled in as one of the most important veteran additions to the Raiders' new defensive identity. Now, he's completely off the field, and nobody will talk about why. He wasn't injured in practice. There was no formal announcement. Just a wave of silence from reporters, teammates, and coaches alike. And the few insiders who've dared to ask around, they've all backed off. One even said, "I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. That's not a performance issue. That's a red flag, and the kind that usually means something legal is in play." This isn't normal. In today's NFL, injury reports, discipline updates, and roster moves get leaked in minutes. But with Wilkins, it's a blackout. No beat writer will go on record. No staff member has offered clarification. The most anyone will say privately is that it's off-the-wall stuff and not team-related. That makes it even more disturbing. If it's unrelated to the field and serious enough to remove him from all activity, what exactly are the Raiders protecting themselves from? Fans deserve transparency, especially when the situation involves a high-profile player just signed to a massive contract. But this one's getting buried, and fast. So here's the real question. Do you think the Raiders are hiding a major off-field issue? Or is there another explanation we're not seeing? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this story is far from over. And if more details surface in the next few days, it could change how we view this entire offseason. Did the front office know something before signing him? Are they now scrambling behind the scenes? And most importantly, how will this impact a defense that was finally starting to find its identity? Hit that like button if you're locked in on this situation, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next update. Because something is brewing in Vegas, and we're just getting started.